Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to Prologue on this gorgeous Sunday, October 1st. This is our first, we've got to come up with another title, a special prologue of the season. One of the things we've decided to do around here with Theater and Dance and TheaterWorks is every first Sunday of a TheaterWorks or UCCS Theater Company show, we'll do a talk that sort of leads you into the performance. And then we'll do in the season like 3 or 4 other talks that had nothing to do with the performances you see, but we think are good to know. Wonderful people in American theater who are, quite literally changing the face of American theater and hopefully changing lives. I'm going to just, a point of personal privilege here, mention that a couple nights ago I posted on Facebook, some of my friends here know that there is nothing quite so wonderful and heartwarming as being able to share your own mentor professor with your students. And I've had the opportunity to do that this weekend with my teacher, Dody DiSanto, who is here today, to work on and to talk about new forms of clowning, of physical theater, and so much more that we'll talk about over the course of the next hour. And then hopefully the students will show you a little bit about what they have done. We'll say more about this form in a couple of seconds when Dody comes out, but I first want to thank, as always, the people and the organizations that make Prologue possible for 13 years, and that is the Department of Visual and Performing Arts, the Theater and Dance Program, TheaterWorks, the LAS Dean's Office, and the Chancellor's Office here at UCCS. And of course, everyone who comes in from their hikes on this gorgeous day to be in a dark theater and listen to us talk about magic. So without further ado, I already gave you her bio and the prologue and the program for the prologue. And so I will just say for now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce Dody DiSanto. Have a seat. Welcome to the Chapin Recital Hall.
Thank you.
Where we're gonna chat for a little bit. Thank you so much for being here, all the way from Washington, D.C.
It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, thank you for setting this all up.
One of the things that I feel like we should figure out to start before we go into your bio and all that you do and what these masks and things in front of us mean is, what is physical theater and clown? We talk about it in academia, we just sort of throw it out like, it's pretty normal that a student might do a clown class or a physical theater class. Mm-hmm. And yet if I was just, a theater enthusiast going to see Steel Magnolias or Antigone, you might not know why that's so important. So what is this world of physical theater that you live in, and how is clown associated with it?
This is like, the seat is hot already.
No, it's fine.
No, it's a really good question. And I think it's a current question. There's has been a trend for a long time now. I think, in mid-century, back in the 1900s, was the beginning of a surge toward clown. My teacher, Jacques Lecoq, who we will talk about, was a pivotal, paramount person in setting that in motion. And it's really, clown is a physical form, right? Clowns they're an amplification of the human condition, right? We all walk around thinking we're strong, beautiful, and intelligent, but actually we're not, right? So the clown offers themselves as a vehicle for people watching humanity to laugh at themselves, really, is what it comes down to. And it's physical, it's amplified, it's elongated. Certainly in our country, the tradition of circus, which is different in many, many different countries, but in our country, Ringling is sort of the circus that you think of first, and they were arena circus. They had 3 rings in very large halls. So the costuming became very garish to reach the people in the top stands. Mm-hmm. So the gags were way more sight gags, visual gags, playing it out on that level. So the association of physical theater and clown are intertwined. Just it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and it's inevitable because it's a physical form. Why are we interested in physical theater now? I think that's a lot of what we'll discuss.
Well, can we start there? I mean, you posed that question, and I know we'll look at different forms, but maybe just to make it personalized, how did you become interested in physical forms as your approach to theatrical creation? Can I set this up though?
Yeah.
So, we're going to start just gabbing, which is what we generally do, and going off in tangents. So just throw something at us if we're not making sense. But the idea of structured script versus the human body.
Yeah.
And my contention, as we've talked about, that we've gotten to a place where, especially because of technology and so forth, that we're a bunch of brains on tripods and we don't really think about the rest. Yeah. So maybe you could talk a little bit about how you enter into physical work as opposed to text-based scripted work.
Okay. So, as you know, I'll tell you, he knows. What I was trained in was physical theater, but it's called theater of creation. So an actor is considered a vessel of expression, right? So I was trained as an actor, a writer, and a director. So that instead of studying an act and being an interpreter of an act, which is predominantly verbal and psychological, right? That's the track. Mm-hmm. This was a different track. This was a track to highlight and elevate the actor as a vessel of expression, as an instrument, right? So you were trained not to go to the brain, cut off here and just do theater from here, but the rigor of training your instrument, just the way if you play clarinet, you have to learn the scales, you have to go through all the rigors of assembling a craft, assembling the ability to make that music sound like something. So it's the same process. And we worked always in ensemble. So we were issued themes, and you had to get to grips and grapple and interact with each other and figure out that maelstrom of problems that happen when people get together to work and there's no text or map to follow. You have to build the map. Yeah. So that's what, the physical theater world is way more ensconced. I did study in Paris, France, and in Europe, the tradition of physicality and working from this point is something that had been stirring for years and came out of Italy, and physicality and masks, and bled through Europe into different countries, and different countries seized different aspects of it, and
That's a perfect setup to sort of talk about your education in Paris and at L'École Jacques Lecoq. Could you tell us who Jacques Lecoq is first, because we throw out that name because he's legendary in theater, and you are his protege. And there he is right behind us, yeah. Huh. Tell us about him. Who is he?
He was such a fascinating person. He was a sports person. He became a physical therapist. He was a swimmer and a runner, and had just a voracious love of nature. And during the war, he ended up in rehab facilities, helping people, where he met a whole team of actors who had come out of the tradition of a man named Jacques Capot, who was from the beginning of the 1900s, who was in France very involved in, and was actually the person who was trying to renovate theater, so this is our big discussion of fulcrum moments in history. Back then, coming out of the 1800s into the 1900s, the fulcrum event was that humans got changed from their relationship to the earth in reaping their sustenance and figuring out this process of how to live on the earth, they got eclipsed by machines and industry. So there was this removal of humanity from the earth. Right? And it had its effect in the theater, and Jacques Coupeau said, well, the poor actor, they're relegated to ham acting. There's all these mechanics going on, and stages changing, and trap doors opening, and they've lost their craft. So he was so impassioned by this. He wanted to restore the nobility of acting to the actor. And he said, what are we doing? We've lost our physical relationship to the earth. Let's get it back. So he started by covering the face, covering the brain on the tripod and saying, what is the body doing? The body is the expression. Actually, what he said, that actors were relegated to marching around pedestrian style on stage, smoking a cigarette. He called it théâtre de la cigarette. So,
but that's such a great image because it's all here, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So this was Coupeau's work. He was in France. Simultaneously, Stanislavski was in Russia involved in a huge similar project. The difference in Russia was that they had amazing writers, right? Right? They did. That's when the Russians came to America, that was the big message. The American actors said, wow, the work is amazing. And they said, yeah, you need writers. Right? Which happened then, right?
Yeah.
Right? So...
But Coupeau, though, is working with the body.
He was working with the body. So he built a company and had a very rigorous training with people, acrobatics. It was very physical. They made a lot of inquiry into animals and nature. So there was this return to primacy. Who are we? These bodies we're born into, and this journey that the human is on. So the people who were in these, back to the wartime, and these people in these rehab centers that Lecoq encountered, they were people from Coupeau's company, where his daughter and his son-in-law, Jean Dasté, and a very famous actor, French actor named Jean-Louis Barrault, who became a very eloquent mime and actor, has written a lot of very beautiful work. And Lecoq and these people, they spoke the same language. He was a physical therapist. He was helping people be balanced, be whole, balancing the body. Mm-hmm. And so they struck up an accord. They asked him to audition for them, and he was cast. He joined the company and subsequently met a very famous... He learned about the mask work that they were doing, covering the face. Coupeau called it the noble mask. He called it le masque noble, because he wanted people to step off of their personal encumbrances, leave their persona behind, their person, their individual person, with all our problems and all the things that we carry around, because we're all a mess. To become an actor, to be the instrument that is a vehicle, that is a conduit for the character to come through. And so what was the basis of this mask? Balance, equilibrium, right? So all these things become intertwined, right? What does nature have? Nature has everything necessary, but it also has ultimate balance, and it moves through cycles of understanding. So that's what they did. They took this philosophical understanding, this cosmological macro-micro schema, and embedded it in their pedagogy, in their way of learning, so that you would become a reflection, so that your body as an instrument, just like the clarinet, right, is able to play the music cleanly, clearly for exactly what the music is, not what you think the music is. So, yeah, as a teacher, I say to the students, and they heard me say this weekend, the audience came to eat. Don't chew the food for them. You know, you've got to somehow transmit this information. So another phenomena of this kind of acting, that's physical engagement, this actor, writer, director, is that what are you doing? Where are you? What is the stage? It's an architectural box. It's an architectural phenomenon. It's a space. So the action has to be launched spatially, spatio-temporally, so that it comes to life and reaches the audience who know exactly what to do with it. The audience knows the truth. We're born knowing everything. It's socialization that messes us up. Huh. It is. It's the process of socialization. So a little aside on the clown. What is the clown? The clown goes back to pre-socialized behavior, right? They don't, you know, everything's fair game. Yeah, you know everything. So in this process, I have to remind actors, you know, hey, by the way, you know everything. It's assigned at birth. And as a child, you imitate the world in order to understand it. So you are moving into identification with things. So that's what we do in this work. We identify with nature, we identify with the macrocosm, with water, fire, air, earth.
So in L'École Jacques Lecoq, which is a 2-year program, right?
Yes.
I should just say this: it's really rigorous. I mean, very few people make it to the second year. Is that am I correct?
Well, there's big groups.
Yeah.
So when I was there in the 70s, 3 groups of 35, and there was a 2/3 cut. So 35 moved on. But so it's different times now. I think a lot of times everybody moves on.
Yeah.
World is changing.
But when you were there, most of your class didn't go to the second year.
No, only 1/3 of the people.
So what is, I have so many questions around that. Let's step back.
Yeah.
First year, what's sort of the pedagogic track of the Lecoq School that you have taken on in your practice? How do you start? How does this work start?
You start by introducing a person back to their body. Because we've forgotten a lot about that. So also in today's world, we have this obsession that we want to know the answer. So we have to go through this process of reminding, I have to go through a process of reminding these individuals on this journey that, you know everything. We're going to uncover it, but also you can't worry about what you know. You have to live in the unknown. You have to set yourself on you have to open yourself. You have to open yourself. You have to dare to be bad is probably a lot of what it is. And, you know, theater is a terrifying thing. I don't know, you know, for the general public. I don't know, you know, it's so pleasing to sit in the audience and watch these things unfold, so much of which we identify with. We spend a lot of time in the audience dreaming about our own lives, which is what a lot of what the beauty is in theater, this magic dark canopy that we sit under, where we all unite in the wonderment of how to get through a life and all the obstacles, etc. So what the heck did you ask me?
Well, I don't know. No, I think you're talking...
I'm ridiculous.
We were talking about sort of the entry point, which you talked about, the entry point into it.
Bring me back, Kevin.
Okay, Jacques. No, I know that one of the things that you do and that we do in the work is neutrality. Could you talk a little bit about that?
That's what you asked.
As a
so what
starting
do we do?
point?
I remind people that first of all, we're all amazing. We're magical. We're mystical. You know, it's amazing. So that has to be re-elevated because we lose track of that. And then we go on a journey to be neutral, to use the neutral mask. There is not one here today. It's a mask
It's up here.
It's up there. That is one of the neutral masks. They were a mask that, okay, aside, Lecoq met these people, joined their company. On that journey, he met a famous Italian director named Giorgio Strehler, who was in Italy, in Milan, trying to resurrect Commedia dell'arte, which had been dead for about 250 years. And he said, oh, I've got some scenario, and there's some ancient masks and some reference to masks, but we don't have them. We need to make the masks and resurrect this art form. He and Lecoq really hit it off. Lecoq had developed a sharp fascination for this noble mask and thought, yeah, that's it, with all his understanding of nature. And he's a super outdoors person. And he instinctively knew that if you could take people back to their roots of understanding, of their primacy, then they could build up a resonance. So he was super fascinated with the noble mask and neutrality, and knew that balance was important. So he and Strehler went on this thing, and Lecoq said, yeah, I'll find a mask maker. And he found an amazing mask maker in Padua at the university, a man named Amleto Sartori, who sculpted full marbles and wrote poetry and was, the real deal. And he agreed to take it on. And they spent 15 to 20 years building the mask.
Building the neutral mask.
Building the neutral mask. And on the side, Sartori was making all the masks for the Commedia, all the stock characters, 3 of which are in the front row right here.
Just a parenthetical. We should probably say a little bit about what he was resurrecting. Commedia dell'arte, for those who don't know. Could you say a little bit about what that is?
It was this tradition of Italian theater that had stock characters that were representative of different regions, right? Which is a common thing in Europe, to kind of take the je ne sais quoi out of, regional characters. They like to iconicize that. And they went into they were like a traveling troupe in Commedia dell'arte. You had these stock characters, and you had the one who stuttered, and you had this one is Capitano, and you had the old one who's Pantalone, and you had Harlequino, who is kind of a acrobatic, innocent. So there's a whole cast of characters, and people had sketches, just sketched that scenario, not a whole track. They worked together constantly. They knew each other. They trained physically, and they'd go to a town square and set up on a platform and play. And people would come and enjoy, and it was very funny, right? And the tradition comes out of ancient Rome, the saltatore, who roamed the streets and, made fun of things, right?
So Strehler and Sartori are recreating the traditions and the mass traditions of Commedia dell'arte. Lecoq comes in and they start working on this idea of neutrality.
Because Strehler built a school, and he wanted Lecoq to teach movement at the school, and he did. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to use this mask to shade actors down to a base silence, balance, calm, upon which, after you learn that equilibrium, then you start to inscribe character from that base of calm. Right? Because if you have that base of calm, there's a truth in the room, right? And then you then begin to understand this space, and you create, because a mask is an amplifier. A mask, that's the value of a mask, it's an amplifier, right? So as a wearer of a mask, you need to step into the task of transporting that amplified thing on space. It's not on you. You are in the mask. But you are not the mask, you're bringing the mask to life. It's a very beautiful and poetic journey. In fact, Lecoq's book about his pedagogy is called the poetic body.
Yeah.
In English, they call it the moving body.
Yeah.
But it's le corps poétique in French, for those of you who understand the language.
So when you start with this place of neutrality and finding, what did you say, stillness or peace or?
Silence.
Silence.
Balance.
What's
calm?
And that's a whole process. What comes next after you've attempted to find that?
After neutral mask, then we work into the larvals. So these are white masks, are called larval masks, and that is why larval from larvae, as in not fully formed, right? In your characters in their rudimentary states. So they don't have mouths, you don't speak. A neutral mask, you don't speak. It's all physical work. You're training your body. It's like the scales of understanding. In the larval mask, you move into, and in neutral mask, you're moving into identification and resonating with universal structures. I mentioned air, fire, water, earth, color, light, sound, right? In this mask, still no mouth, but you notice they're big and they're white. And this is another piece of genius of Lecoq. Where do these masks come from? Well, in Basel, Switzerland, there's a carnival. It's their Fat Tuesday. It's a night. It's called Fasnacht. Only it lasts 3 days. Very fat night. And they have masks. They have a mask factory in Basel, and they produce these masks that are, blown out characters that are kind of derived again from characters, regional characters, the Alsatian, the so-and-so, And in Basel and Fasnacht, they dress up. There's huge troops of them, like 15 or more of the same mask, wearing the same costume, and they're either playing fife or drum. And it goes on, and these troops waft through the streets over the bridges and around the town in Basel for 3 days. It's really tremendous. And Lecoq was like, oh, I can use those masks. Those are characters in the rudimentary states. We'll put the students in those after they get, so he did no costumes, no paint, no flutes or drums, but they require the architecture of the body to bring them to life. So it asks the student to look at form. Like just this weekend, we were talking about the cardinal planes, right? The sagittal, the transverse, and the coronal plane. We live in these. This magic thing, this space around us. So in the larvals, you have to use the architecture of your body to animate. And where do you get the architecture? You study the mask. The mask tells you, oh, it goes like this. It's tall and thin, or it's wide and inquisitive, right? So you sort of find, you move into character out of neutrality. You step out of neutrality and start to move into character. Your first step is form. Yeah. Right? But you dress these up. They're amazing.
Would it be okay if we ask a couple they've worked with these?
Yeah.
To put them on so the audience can see what they look like.
They're champing at the bit.
Pick one that maybe you've done some work with and just turn around and then we'll have you turn around and embody them, and maybe you and I can just step over here.
Come in the light. You in the light. Yeah, you. Hey, that's my chair.
Okay, thank you. Turn around. Thank you all.
Oh, wow. That was so fun. That was terrific.
Thank you all.
It was wonderful.
So the idea being then that you starting with neutrality, and then you're going into these larval forms in which you, to repeat what you were saying, study the mask and allow the mask to
dictate
inform
the posture.
The posture.
Right. So in French they say your position. They say attitude.
Yeah.
Right. And there should be lines and planes.
Yeah.
Because the neutral mask has line. The big, huge. Why was it 15 or 20 years? Because it took a while to make that mask. It's a phenomenal mask that the lines and planes of the mask correspond to universal rhythms in nature. Yeah. So it's big. I mean, it's embedded. It's not just neutral. It's not a dime store mask. So it's important that the mask has that, because then the student can lean into the cosmic reality. You know, that's helpful. It's helpful.
I mean, just to get to some concrete structure too, is the idea that this is some odd form that exists in just this school in Paris. I mean, so many MFA programs do this work. In fact, you work for one of them. So you're working with classical actors who are generally doing Shakespeare, right, in DC.
They are doing Shakespeare.
And this is what you teach them.
Yeah.
So those of us who go to a theater work show or a student show and are seeing Shakespeare and saying, what does this have to do with any of that? What's the answer? The
answer is that the body is the instrument.
Yeah.
The body is the instrument. So, if you play a clarinet, you're going to do Wagner, or you're going to, so you need to tune the instrument to play whatever you need to play. Yeah. Classical, comedy, tragedy, soap opera, anything, right? And after the larvals, you move into expressive masks and character masks, where you're getting closer to character. Yeah. You're getting right, but you're still wearing a mask, so you're still operating in the amplification field of amplification. Ultimately, when you take off the mask, your body has been through this amazing process, and so you carry that with you. You carry that knowledge. Why does Richard II able to go to the lip of the stage and speak so intimately with the audience, engaging a huge space in a very intimate way? Right. It's that, those cardinal planes, those coordinates, the understanding of the absorption of the audience, right? So for me, that's the spatiotemporal dynamics are huge, because too many actors, people arriving at the doorstep of I want to be an actor, don't have an awareness of space. They don't, We're taking life and we're putting it in this box on stage, and we're illuminating it. So we have to step into that. So coming out of expressive and character, expressive masks are, they're kind of iconic, right? And they're still full face. And then you bust into character mask, which start to become half mask, and then you start asking the actor to talk. All right, so then they're finding the voice, and they're putting the voice behind this, and then you move to commedia, which is a high form of vocal. It's seriously body, very physical. It's very, in the roots of commedia, there are kind of set and understood coordinates for different characters, right? Like, I had you all doing that. That's brigela. That's part of brigela.
So, could you say briefly, I want to talk about two other mask sort of forms, and then maybe talk about what you did this weekend. I don't know if this isn't a masked form, but could you talk about... And then we'll get to that, yeah. Could you say a little bit about buffoon, which is also part of what you teach, buffoon, and what that is?
That's good, because in the mid-century, which I talked, the very first question that Kevin posed was about why physical theater and clown and what do they have to do together? And I said, it was back in the 1900s, and there was some kind of, Lecoq had his ear to the ground, and there was some kind of clamoring amongst the students and the people. They wanted to play themselves. Clowns started surfacing. And so he went on a journey to say, well, okay, what is it? What do you want to do? What's it about? It was a big discovery, right? So clown is, what is clown? A couple important and interesting things that you might not be aware of is that back to the architecture of the playing space, clown is comedy. Clown is a person making fun of themselves. It's the fool, right? They're making fun of themselves. So comedy is a horizontal form of theater. You might be going, why? What does that mean? What do you mean? Well, when the cash register opens, you get the laugh. It's a horizontal thing, right? Boom, the funny lands and you get the laugh. So boom, 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 you have this relationship. Other forms of theater, tragedy, for example, is very, very vertical. Huh? You're cursed by the gods, or you have the gods and you have your fate, death, right? And then, I don't know, melodramas on the oblique. Right? So, Lecoq really, he was, that's one of his pieces of genius, is hearing what's going on because he has large groups of people and he's, letting them create work. So he starts getting a sense of, what's up, what's afoot, what's going on, what are people thinking about, what's happening in life and sociology. Mm-hmm. So he fulfilled this thing with clown, and then some years later, in the late 60s, he all of a sudden, with the turmoil, the political turmoil, the Vietnam War, all the things that were going on in the world, he said, oh yeah, people are not happy with society. And he said, well, how can we make fun of society? And then he realized that back in the medieval times, that folks who were not like us, the aberrated, the hunchbacks, the whoever, right? They were sent outside of the city into camps, right? And then they were brought in for festivals to be jeered at or whatever. It was kind of like the very brutes of sideshow, I think. If I say, oh, excuse me. But so he said, how does that work? Okay, says to the students, disguise yourselves and change the shape of your body. And if somebody was going to grow or be weird, make that happen with some kind of foam or costume or something and show up at school. And then he would play a drum and people would, kind of ritualize and move around the space. And then it started happening that you fell into clans, hierarchies. There were bottom feeders. There were high people who could communicate with the gods. So he realized that they had a reverse image of heaven and hell. They cursed the heavens and invoked the earth. And that they could say what was wrong. They could mock or make fun of society because they were other. So he turned it into a theatrical vehicle, which is that, think about it, in a play, you have a specific situation and you want more psychic information on that moment. You could have buffoons appear and play out some other extrapolation of that phenomena that's in play with people and then disappear. So it was just another theatrical vehicle, and he was answering a call. Mm-hmm. So what is a buffoon? A clown makes fun of themselves. A buffoon makes fun of you.
And it's sometimes very uncomfortable to watch.
It's highly uncomfortable. It can be highly uncomfortable, but it's also another way to laugh at ourselves and to realize. So buffoons are a utopian society. They're outcasts. They ain't changing that. They accept it. They're free. They're free. They love it. They don't care. They want to play the game, and there's a childlike phenomena in buffoon. You have to return to childhood to grasp and revisit the games that you play in childhood, right? Which is, do it again, do it again. So if you're playing war, which is a game we play, right? We play war. What? I don't know. I'll just say it like that and leave it. That's a big discussion, right? But we play war, and the buffoons, when they play war after they die, they love it. They get up again, look, kill me again, kill me again. So it's a mockery, just to kind of say, whoa, yeah. Hey, civilization, what are we doing? Right? Which is what theater is doing anyway. Theater is helping us understand what we're doing, right? And so the final mask is the clown, right? So in the beginning, they're bookends. You start in the beginning, a neutral mask. You calibrate yourself. You encounter your encumbrances. You try to neutralize them. Tell them, the gremlins in there, like, chillax, sit down. Let me do this. I'll come and get you. That's a problem. I tell for actors. It's sad. You live in your instrument. You've got to do everything in your instrument. You're not a clarinet. You can't take it apart, wipe it out, put it in a thing, and then go about your business. No, you're in this thing all the time. So then you go through this, course in creativity, all these masks we just discussed, and finally you get to play yourself. But it's a mask. It's the smallest mask there is. What does the clown nose do? It illuminates you. It illuminates, it amplifies your face. Hold on. I knew that would happen.
It's the altitude.
Oh, God, it's altitude. It brightens your eyes, which are the windows to your souls. And yeah. So it's a rite of passage to play yourself. But also, once you've learned the utility of the mask, and that anything you play is a mask, whether you're wearing a mask or not, there's the freedom in that. So you end trying to contact playing the freedom of you, which is a total mess. It's a total mess. You have people going, who am I? I don't know who I am. And in that, this can be very funny if you can stay in the
Well, do you think there
excitement of that?
There's a sense, especially with sort of different clowns than what we're talking about a fear of clowns, right? That sort of permeates some societies.
Well,
is that a fear of just looking sort of in the mirror? No,
it's a fear is because most of the time it's children who have a fear of clowns, right? And young children haven't built. Also, you got to understand, I'm from the 1900s, so I talk about things from that perspective. So things change, but children, it used to be the children before screens. It kills me when I see babies looking at screens. But you don't get the screens on your chakras, your energy centers, until you're somewhere around 7 or something. That's where they start installing. Before that, you're unfiltered, pretty unfiltered. And kids are unfiltered, they see the truth. And the clowns are an amplification, they're garish. So that's what the fear is. Is life going to become like that? Is that what it'll be like? So really that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's just primal. It's primal reaction. It's actually knowing.
Yeah.
It's knowing that life is a strange and scary adventure. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's a beautiful journey. It's a very beautiful journey, and it takes a long time. You can't point and click it. You cannot.
If you would like to see clown work, we're at the end of this semester in December. I think I don't remember the date. The students will be doing a clown showcase, and it's fabulous, and anyone in the community can come. But we're going to stop with clown, and I want to just, in this last few minutes before we take questions, talk a little bit about this thing that you did this weekend, which you call, what is it called, first of all? And then can we see some examples
What did you call it?
Comic strip mime. Well,
yeah, it's also gestural language, right? Gestural language, which starts from the roots of French pantomime. Yeah. Where you don't speak and you use gestures to describe the circumstance. Yeah. It's a form of mime. Lecoq, another piece of genius of Lecoq, endlessly brilliant guy, he took pantomime, I taught them a classical phrase between two characters, Pierrot and Columbine, who have roots reaching into, different European countries, Italy for sure, and then there are aspects of it in pantomime, in Punch and Judy, and in England, et cetera, right? But then you teach them, I taught them to, we did a lot. They were amazing. We did a lot in a very short time. Teach them some broad understandings of spatial coordinates and how to cohere as an ensemble and how to start image building and accelerating the narrative and building frames, just like comic strip frames. That's why we call it comic strip mime. In French, you say bande mimée. So that they had to take up, what they did was take a myth and silt it down to just the bullet points of what would tell that story, and create frames, and then abut them and intertwine them so that the story unfolds, you will see shortly, on a reduced playing area, which is a helpful tool for actors who are used to studying the act, who think that when it's time to go to the table, you have to go across the room to get to the table. And in this style, everything happens in a compact space. And it amplifies the play, and it becomes very exciting. And it also is a very educational tool for the students to understand the ensemble dynamics and start to begin to build a language and build a history of what that is. Yeah.
Shall we look at them?
Yeah.
There are two myths that probably most of us know that we're going to look at. So we're looking at Sisyphus, the myth of Sisyphus.
Sisyphus, and then
Orpheus and Eurydice, right?
Yeah, so let's see Sisyphus first, and then we're going to clear the stage. And thank you, God, that was fantastic. Went by so fast.
Get him.
So we're going to just go straight on and look at Orpheus and Eurydice, and then we can chat about it and take questions from you. If you would like to ask Dody a question, there's a mic right here. Come down to the mic, or actually, would one of you take it around to people? Just, I know it's sometimes nerve-wracking to come up to a mic. So amazing.
Thank you.
The thing that I'm so drawn to, and maybe you could say a little bit about this, is the sort of the filmic, almost filmic way that it's, you know, the expression of walking that comes right after we've had this whole different picture. Could you talk a little bit about the different frames of
You mean the juxtaposition?
Yes.
We call that micro macro, by the way. When you go into micro, you're doing the small thing. It's a vehicle. It's a vehicle of it's fun, right? It can be arresting, right? Yeah. Ultimately, we are transmitting the poetry of being human. So there's something magical about changing the space, right? And in that amplification, in the expansion and contraction, is where we all meet. right? And the mystery of the expansion and contraction of life. So I think we're actually literally doing that.
Yeah.
I think we're using mechanisms that attract our attention. Why? Because we're recognizing ourselves. We're recognizing life in those structures, right?
Yeah.
In the expansion and contraction. There's three things in life, folks: push, pull, and the space in between. That's it. Everywhere you look. That's what life boils down to. So when you set those dynamics in motion to tell a story, it's like some kind of a pump that everybody can relate to. Yeah.
Questions? Are there questions? Does anyone have questions?
Yeah, what do you think?
From anyone? There we go.
What's it look like?
Hi. I wanted to know about your connective tissue body work in '92. How long did you do that, and how did you integrate it with this type of work?
That's amazing. I was looking for a way to live in the world of acting, which is small income. So you need an auxiliary income usually to support that. And because I'm very physical, I was a jock and then studied physical theater in Paris. I also went to circus school. So I was drawn to study massage therapy and body work, and it was just a perfect fit. And I've stuck with it, and it's the microcosm. So I felt like it was a perfect companion, because doing the body work was like a microcosmic understanding, and the theater is the macrocosm, and so it was this really great cross-pollination that has just seriously endured. Thank you for asking that. That's part of what keeps me going. Yeah.
Other questions? Are there other questions? We answered everything. Yeah. You want to just, if you could just speak loudly, it'll be hard for us to get the mic over there. Yeah.
Just a quick comment. We're theater enthusiasts and particularly enjoy Shakespearean productions. On the same play several times. And absolutely the best are those where they incorporate that physicality in the interpretation of their character. Maybe that the theater students.
Yeah.
That's no breaking news. But often when we talk to people, I don't know if I'm going to get Shakespeare or follow language. Say, well, you might not always catch all the lines, the historical context of kind of the inside joke of the period. But for those performers that really bring that whole character out, the whole body and movement, you get the story, and you probably get the joke. And I've seen some of the best in productions that are not elaborate, not big sets, but smaller, more really budget constrained theater that they bring that.
Yeah.
To the show.
Yeah. So, which makes me think of a point. Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes people think, well, why should somebody studying classical acting study clown? Well, or any of this. And that it's the muscles that you develop in the physical world work, particularly the clown, are muscles that you use no matter what you're doing. They're requisite for doing theater because they're the muscles of availability, complicity, and vulnerability. And for an actor to acquire those properties goes into anything that you do, anything. It doesn't matter whether you're the villain doing comedy, you're doing classical, it doesn't matter. Those muscles serve the actor.
I think we could do one more question, and then as always, we can go out into the lobby and chat but I know some people are going to the show here in a bit. Yeah.
When I did work with Kevin, one thing that I found with the larval mask was there's a certain amount of liberty that you feel when you put it on in expanding your physicality, and it almost feels kind of like a safety of this is being covered so this can do whatever it needs
Yes.
to do. How do you translate that feeling of freedom of expression and that liberty that you get physically with mask when you're doing stage acting that doesn't have to do with mask work?
You have that information is on the chip. You've acquired that information. You've built that history. You had that understanding. So you just carry it. You have to open yourself like a conduit and let those things come through in all of your work. It's not, part of the problem with the technology is it tends to separate things out. This happens here, this happens here. Everything. Use it all. Use all of that into everything that you do. Yeah.
And I think to sort of wrap, and then we can go outside, not wrap up, not wrap. But before we go outside, I just sort of wanted to say, and onto that point, Kara, to continue doing it, to continue working with mask and clown. And one of the things that I think most people here know, that we have a really rich clown community, physical theater community in Colorado Springs. Brigitte Dupree, who's right there, and Jim, who's in the back, and the Millebo Theater is wrapped up in a lot of these conversations. I've been doing this with you for 20 years, and a couple of teachers before that. So it's really entrenched in actor training here in Colorado Springs, but really nationally. So when you go and you see a show, if the actor is well trained, they're often steeped in this world, and so I think it brings a new way of watching theater.
And so to bookend on this whole talk, which has been lovely, thank you all so much. I think when you say clown now, it just infers that whole trajectory,
right?
That everything we've just covered. Somehow people just tend to assign clown to that world. Right? Everywhere you go in the acting community now, people are like, clown, clown, clown. I want to do clown. I want to do clown. It's because they want to open up. They want the tools. They want the freedom.
Before we leave, I just want to say thank you all and to announce a few things that are coming up. Of course, many of you are going to see TheaterWorks' show next door, Steel Magnolias. The students are doing what's going to be a terrific, beautiful production that Brigitte is directing of Antigone in November, so I hope many of you will come for that. You let me know if you want to come see the Clown Showcase in December. We're also starting a new series called the Cabaret Club. Many of you saw our sort of beta test of it last year in the Shockley-Saddleback. We're going to do three shows, totally different. I'll announce them soon, except I will tell you what the first one is. A friend of mine, Leona Michelle, is going to be here with the film star Kim Fields, who's directing a piece called Little Girl Blue that is about the life and times of Nina Simone, a sung through musical of Nina Simone's work. That is going to be here in Colorado Springs on the 20th and the 21st of December in our cabaret setup on the Shockley-Saddleback stage before it goes to New York City. It's so extraordinary that this is happening. And then there'll be two other pieces that we'll announce in due time. But please look out for that. I hope you'll attend that. And we'll, as always, with sort of this pedagogic intersection here at the Ent Center, we'll have conversations with the artists as well. The second thing I wanted to mention is David Corrins, the Broadway set designer, Hamilton, Beetlejuice, Dear Evan Hansen, Here Lies Love, you name it, is coming to do a prologue with us. We don't have the date set, likely November, but keep your eye out for that. That'll be our second special prologue of the season, and we have a couple more coming in the spring. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, Dody DiSanto.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you. Thank you.